Alright, so the guys are coming around now. They're doing a standing start.
So do you want to explain the standing start, Richard, as you're probably a bit more experienced than this?
It's pretty hectic, so these guys will be
So you're just talking us
certainly
through it.
they're going to come up to the start now, and they'll stop and wait until the last car is stopped. And certainly wouldn't like to be Chris Cox and Daniel Bray on the right hand side. It looks a lot wetter over there, so it'll be interesting to see. Hamilton's in the box seat, green flag up, so the light will come on and then it'll go straight off. Yeah, as I said there, Hamilton's really got the lead, got the break. Manson's got ahead as well, so Chris Cox has really lost out massively there.
So Matthew Hamilton straight away into the lead, followed by Scott Manson, then Daniel Bray. Chris Cox, the big loser in that start. It's gone from first position all the way to fourth. So it is really a game of a bit of skill more than what you would have in, say, the rolling starts, because rolling starts, if you're in a good grid position, you can always get to the top three, you know, pretty easily, whereas standing starts requires a bit more skill, and I know I've tried it a couple of times and didn't have the best of luck.
No, you don't want to
say the least.
You don't want to stall, and you don't want to, you know, over rev the thing. So it's interesting to see, like, a lot of guys have different techniques in the way that they do it. Seems to have really worked out for Hamilton and Manson there.
So we've got our top three. Current New Zealand champion Matthew Hamilton is in the lead, followed by Scott Manson, who looks to be closing a bit. Then Daniel Bray, who is in the third position. And it'll be interesting to see if they start saving their tyres, or what would you think, Richard? Do you think they'll be saving their tyres in these conditions, or will they just be going hammer and tong?
I think they'll probably start to save their tyres a bit later on in the piece. Obviously, it's only the last race that counts, and they've got a softer compound, so these tyres aren't going to last as well as the Control MG running all the other classes.
Yes, as they do run a stickier tyre.
Manson's not really dropping off the back of Hamilton there, so...
Oh, he's actually caught up, I feel. So Manson definitely on the pace here in heat number one. But as we just mentioned, we don't know who's saving their tyres. Manson recently out of juniors, so he's not quite experienced as the likes of Matthew Hamilton and Daniel Bray, but nevertheless he's still a very good kart racer.
He's doing a fantastic job here in the KZ2 class today. It looks like Chris Cox has really been dropped off there, so he won't be happy with that after a really good performance yesterday in qualifying.
Exactly. Also, don't forget, we've got Matt Burchard down in fifth position, another young gun. He was racing juniors when I was in juniors, so definitely a good competitor, and he might just be struggling here today with the tough conditions, but look out for him in the finals and pre-finals, I think.
He's not letting Chris Cox get away on the pole setter, so that's a good performance from him. Hold on there. Interesting to see that Matthew Kinsman and Andy Knight have decided not to go out in this session. That's why, as I mentioned before, they're just looking to save their tyres, and because it's such a small field, and you know, you can make up so much, or you can lose so much track position on those standing starts. They'll be banking on a good start in the pre-final.
And Matthew probably saving his body as he's running two classes. KZ2 is a very physical class.
It is absolutely.
So good strategic decision there by Matthew Kingsman. We'll see how it plays off later on in the day.
So Regan Carter there in the sixth position. It's been a while since I've seen Regan around. It's good to have him back into the KZ class.
Looks like Matthew's now slightly pulling away from Scott Manson. So the early charge in lap 1 and 2 hasn't really paid off for Scott, as Daniel Bray now starts to pull him back in. So the experienced drivers in this class are using their knowledge to their best and definitely bring their A game here today on an Easter Saturday.
Looks like Chris Cox has had an issue there. He just comes past our commentary booth here.
Yes.
He's slowly coming around turn 1.
Definitely running slow there, Richard. Unfortunately, looks like he had an issue. Down the lead, there's still Matthew Hamilton, current 1NZ, followed by Scott Manson, then our current 2NZ, Daniel Bray, and then Matt Burkhardt has got into now fourth position. So even though he's still circulating, to finish first, you must finish.
Exactly, and that'll be good for his points. Obviously, the combined points that you get from Heat 1 and 2 will determine your grid for the pre-final, and yeah, he'll be happy to be up a bit further on that start.
So most of these people are actually from the South Island. We've got Daniel Bray from the Mount Wellington Club up in Auckland. We've also got Matthew Kingsman, who is saving his tyres at the moment from the Mount Wellington Club. So most of the competitors here, including Chris Cox, Matthew Hamilton, Andy Knight, Scott Manson, are from the Canterbury Club down in the South Island.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing, honestly, to see so few drivers here. Now, obviously, the KZ2 class runs through the Pro Kart series, which sort of tours the North Island, and you get a lot bigger fields there. So, obviously, some guys deciding to focus their efforts on that series.
Exactly. As the check flag now comes out for Matthew Hamilton, who extended his lead on that last lap. And it's Scott Manson, Daniel Bray, and that's your top three, followed by Matt Burkhardt in fourth, Regan Carter, and then Chris Cox, Matthew Kingston, and Andy Knight. So there was only 6 that finished that race. It'll be interesting to see if Matthew Kingsman and Andy Knight's strategy pays off later on in the meeting, as they'll have fresh tyres for the finals.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see there that everyone's best lap time was either on lap 5 or before, so they've obviously backed off. The track's definitely got drier throughout that race.